Donald Trump recently had quite the episode on Air Force One. It was during this awkward press conference where he really threw Pete Hegseth under the bus. He claimed he had no clue that Hegseth had ordered additional strikes on a fishing boat the military had already hit, even with survivors on board. He bluntly said, "I don't know anything about it," and insisted he wouldn't have backed taking out those survivors. Then the conversation took an odd turn when they started discussing an MRI he had back in October. When someone asked him what part of his body was scanned, he replied, "I don't know, but it was perfect. It was like the perfect call that I was impeached over. I'll give you the MRI, but it was the perfect MRI." It's honestly hard to believe he'd actually follow through and provide that MRI. Next, he tackled the sensitive topic of possibly pardoning Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who got sentenced to 45 years in prison for his ties to the Sinaloa cartel involving drug smuggling into the U.S. His response was just as wild as everything else. "Why would I do anything to go after that guy? It was another Biden hoax. Just because you're the president doesn't make you a drug dealer." As we dig into what happened on Air Force One, the things that came out of his mouth can be hard to take seriously, but hearing them directly makes it a different story. He was asked this intriguing question about whether hitting a second strike that hurt wounded people would be legal. His answer was something else.
On the Venezuela boat strike, if there were a second strike that killed wounded people wounded in the first strike, are you thinking that would be legal?
Number one, I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal, it was fine, and if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you
I have great confidence.
He's saying there's no second strike?
I don't know, I'm going to find out about it, but Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
Do you have any concerns about how those boat strikes have been carried out at all?
Very little, because you can see the boats, you can see the drugs in the boats. And each boat is responsible for killing 25,000 Americans. So, and they're doing an amazing job. And you just look at the numbers.
Things took a bit of a turn when he decided to justify using an offensive name for Governor Tim Walz, which I'm sure wouldn't sit well with a lot of Americans. He doubled down saying, "I absolutely call him that. That's what he is." He even leaned in on a reporter, pressing them about which outlet they were from, trying to pin them down.
In the same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
You don't think that...
You have a problem with him? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
When informed that Governor Walz had asked Trump to release his MRI results, his reaction was quite dramatic.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This is a rocky flight. We're going to get out of here before something happens. They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Walz? You mean the incompetent Governor Walz? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What were they looking at?
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it or if you want to release it, do you want to have it released?
Yes,
News Nation?
please.
Failing News Nation?
No, sir, we're not failing.
News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Yes, please. Can you tell
Absolutely.
us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
The conversation then shifted when a reporter asked him about the strikes on fishing boats near Venezuela, and if he backed Secretary Hageth's orders regarding it. Trump admitted he didn't know much about the situation, but mentioned that Hageth had assured him he wasn't involved, so he decided to take his word for it.
Can you talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth?
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him 100%.
So you don't know if there was the second strike to kill the two men after they were injured in the first strike?
He said he never said
Would
that.
you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
Trump recently dove into the topic of pardoning Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras with connections to drug cartels. His reasoning? He seemed to think that just because drugs are entering a country, the president shouldn't face any consequences. A reporter brought up the substantial evidence against Hernandez, and Trump appeared a bit out of touch, claiming he didn't even know who they were discussing. The reporter highlighted federal prosecutions and Hernandez's alleged comments about moving drugs into the United States, which is a pretty serious accusation. The way Trump handled that entire situation was just mind-boggling.
Mister, you've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S.
Right.
Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan
one?
Orlando Hernandez.
Well, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden. Look, Biden didn't know he was alive, but it was the people that surround the Resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence can you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
Well, you take a look. I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
Mr. President, do you think the U.S.
That includes this country, okay?
Now, on a different note, Trump has been making bold promises about drastically reducing drug prices. Claims like 500, 600, even 700% reductions, thanks to what he calls a most favored nations provision. This means that pharmaceutical companies would need to charge the same low prices in the U.S. as they do in other countries. So if it costs $1 in Canada, it should cost $1 here too. Back in May, he reassured everyone this would happen. But let's be real, those kinds of price drops are just not feasible. It's one of those exaggerated claims we often hear from him.
Americans,
You know, one of the reasons that healthcare can work is because of what I just did with favored nations. You're going to have drug prices coming down 500, 600, 700% because of me.
And you wanted
In
to.
other words, we're going to have the lowest drug prices, tied for the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. It's called favored nations, and you don't talk about it. It's probably the biggest thing to happen in medicine in the last 100 years, and it can have a huge impact, positive impact on pricing for healthcare.
Recently, Trump has been making some waves in discussions about immigration, particularly when he brought up certain countries, Somalia included. During a chat about immigration, he was pretty clear about not wanting folks from places like Somalia to come into the United States. He mentioned that we have enough issues at home and bluntly stated, we don't want those people.
On immigration, your administration made a lot of moves throughout the last few days after we know that Afghan national is the suspected shooter of these National Guardsmen.
The people that shouldn't be in our country, that's right.
So you announced that asylum.
And that includes Somalians and it includes plenty of others.
How long does your administration plan to pause asylum into the U.S.?
I think a long time.
Can you give any kind of time? What's
we
a
don't
long
want those
time?
people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is that a year, 2 years?
No time limit.
And then
But it could be a long time.
you said that
We don't want those people. Do you understand that?
I understand.
You understand it?
I understand.
Who
what
are
you're
you
saying.
with?
I'm with News Nation. So
Okay,
my
News
name's Libby
Nation.
D.
News Nation. Great.
Thank
Let
you.
me just tell you something. We don't want those people. Does that make sense? You know why we don't want them? Because many of them are no good. and they shouldn't be in our country.
What do you mean by those people? Can you clarify?
People from different countries that are not friendly to us, and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other.
In the midst of all this, there was an eyebrow-raising moment when he discussed the possibility of denaturalizing some American citizens.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about
I mean, people that are in here that shouldn't be here.
well, that became Americans? Are you trying
We'll
to revoke
see.
their
I mean,
citizenship?
yeah, we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely.
What do you mean by
Dan, do you have a question? Yeah.
What do you mean by reverse migration?
It means get people out that are in our country, get them out of here. I want to get them out.
So Trump was pretty direct about wanting to get people out of Venezuela, basically all about clearing folks out. When a reporter asked him why he thought the airspace above Venezuela should be closed, he said that was the plan. But here's the kicker. Our military and government didn't actually act on what he announced on social media, which is kind of funny.
Mr. President, on Venezuela, can you tell us more about why the airspace above Venezuela should be considered closed?
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They send millions of people really, and probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problem.
Does your warning
and drugs.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
Then there was this moment when he got asked about a New York Times report saying he had talked to Maduro. Surprise, surprise. He shut that down right away, claiming he couldn't discuss it, though you could tell he wanted to. He did admit he had briefly spoken to him.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
This morning, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz decided to weigh in on Trump, suggesting he should make the results of his MRI public. That's quite the statement, right? Walz pointed out that while everyone else was enjoying Thanksgiving with their loved ones, Trump was tucked away, ranting online.
Governor, let me have you weigh in on this, because part of your initial response to President Trump's post was to call for him to release the results of his MRI. And I want to give you a chance to give our viewers exactly a sense of what you mean. What exactly were you suggesting by that, Governor?
Well, here we got a guy on Thanksgiving where we spent time with our families, we ate, we played Yahtzee, we cheered for football or whatever. This guy is apparently in a room ranting about everything else. This is not normal behavior. It is not healthy. And presidents throughout time have released a couple things. They've released their tax returns, not Donald Trump, and they've released their medical records, not Donald Trump. And look, the MRI is one thing, but I think what's most concerning about this is, as your viewers out there are listening, has anyone in the history of the world ever have an MRI assigned to them and have no idea what it was for, as he says? So look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting, crazily at midnight on Thanksgiving about everything else, there's reasons for us to be concerned. This is a guy that randomly says the airspace over Venezuela is closed. He's ruminating on if you could win a nuclear war. Look, this is a serious position. It's the most powerful position in the world. And we have someone at midnight throwing around slurs that demonize our children. And at the same time, he's not solving any of the problems. So I'm deeply concerned that he is incapable of doing the job.
Governor Walz has also spoken up about this. He made a solid point about how harmful and disrespectful it is to use certain derogatory words, especially towards people with disabilities. He highlighted that while no one can stop anyone from saying those words, choosing to do so really shows what kind of person you are, especially since it hurts those who are already vulnerable.
Look, Donald Trump insulting me is a badge of honor for me, but I think we all know, as both as an educator for a couple decades and as a parent, using that term is just so damaging. It's hurtful. We have fought 3 decades to get this out of our schools. Kids know better than to use it. But look, this is what Donald Trump has done. He's normalized this type of hateful behavior and this type of language. And mainly, look, at first, I think it's just because he's not a good human being. But secondly, to distract from his incompetency. We know we just came through a Thanksgiving where prices are up. We know people are concerned about heating their homes as we're experiencing blizzards out here at the same time he's cutting those programs. So, look, we cannot allow this to be normalized.
Meanwhile, Trump is cutting essential programs, and honestly, it's hard to wrap my head around how he thought that was a good call. The political tug of war between Democrats and Republicans can get really messy, and it's frustrating to see just how mean-spirited and downright destructive some of these actions can be. People are genuinely hurt by this behavior, and with all the chaos and dishonesty surrounding it, it makes you wonder who behaves like this. In one of his chaotic press conferences aboard Air Force One, Trump had his national economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, trying to put a positive spin on things. He claimed the economy was thriving, that prices were down, and that gas was under $2 a gallon. It's kind of funny when he makes comments like that, especially since he's completely out of touch with the reality so many people are facing.
How much of that spending increase you think is attributable to the fact that prices are up? Let me give you an example. The maker of Tonka trucks said a couple days ago that a toy truck that cost $30 last year is going to cost $40 this year, partly because they lost about 8 weeks of shipping due to the U.S. trade war with China. What's your advice to holiday shoppers who don't want to spend more this year than they did last year or can't afford to spend more?
Right. Well, as you know, it depends on what you're looking at. Like egg prices are down, gasoline prices drop below $2 a gallon in a lot of places.
You mean
mortgage
below?
Rates are down.
Gas prices on average are still at $3 a gallon.
Yeah, that's right.
Country,
For
right?
a few states, they got below $2. And so the point is just that in the end, what matters is in the aggregate, the average across everything that everybody buys.
If you're feeling the same level of frustration as I am, I'd love to hear your thoughts.